Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's always so nice to have you here. Tonight, we are going to step into the heart of ancient Rome and walk through the Colosseum as if we are truly there. We'll pass through crowded streets filled with vendors and travelers, follow the flow of citizens arriving from across the empire, and move beneath towering stone arches that once held thousands of voices. Inside, we'll explore the world of gladiators, engineers, workers, and emperors, and uncover how this massive arena was not just built for entertainment, but for power, politics, and control. So settle in, get comfortable, and let your mind drift slowly into ancient Rome as we step inside one of the most iconic structures ever built. Before we begin, feel free to leave a comment and let me know where in the world you're listening from tonight. And if you enjoy what I do here, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's the simplest way to support the channel and allows me to continue creating more calm stories for you to relax, study, or fall asleep to. Alright, let's begin. You step out into ancient Rome. The first thing you notice is the sound. It's never fully quiet here. Footsteps echo off stone roads. Vendors call out from shaded stalls. And somewhere in the distance, metal clinks against metal as workers begin their day early, long before the sun fully rises. The air is already warm. Dust rises slightly with every passing cart, mixing with the smell of baked bread, sweat, smoke, and something faintly metallic, like iron left too long in the sun. You are not alone. Rome is moving around you. And today, everyone seems to be heading in the same direction, toward the Colosseum. As you follow the crowd, the streets slowly begin to change. Narrow alleyways open into wider roads. Buildings grow taller, more organized, more imposing. Marble columns begin to appear between ordinary brick homes, as if the city is slowly shifting from daily life into something more ceremonial. You notice vendors setting up along the path. They sell everything you can imagine for a long journey on foot. Roasted nuts, bread soaked in olive oil, dried figs, wine diluted with water in clay cups. Some shout loudly, trying to compete with the growing noise of the crowd. Others already seem overwhelmed, as if they know today will be one of those days where Rome feels too large for any single person to control. You pass groups of people speaking different languages. Some are locals. Some are travelers from distant provinces. Gaul, Egypt, Hispania, their accents blending into the same rising noise of anticipation. You hear laughter, arguments, children running ahead and being pulled back by impatient parents. And always, the direction is forward. The Colosseum is not hidden. You begin to see it before you even fully reach it. At first, just the top edges of stone arches rising above rooftops. Then more of it reveals itself with every step. Massive, curved and impossibly solid, like something carved directly from the idea of permanence itself. The structure does not look like a building at first. It looks like a force. As you get closer, the crowd thickens. You are now surrounded by thousands of people moving together, all converging toward the same destination. It feels less like walking through a city and more like being pulled into a current. And then, you reach the outer ring. The Colosseum stands fully before you now. Enormous stone arches rise in stacked layers, each one perfectly aligned, repeating in rhythm, like a language written in architecture. Sunlight hits the upper levels, turning the stone pale gold. Shadows gather beneath the lower arches, where entrances open like dark mouths leading inward. People pause here. Some look up in silence. Others point, talk, laugh, or simply stare without speaking at all. Because no matter how many times they have seen it, the Colosseum still feels too large to fully understand. You move with the crowd toward one of the entrances. This is where the energy changes. Outside, Rome feels loud, chaotic, alive. But near the gates, there is structure, order. You notice guards standing at intervals, controlling flow without needing to shout. People are sorted naturally, not by discussion but by expectation. Citizens know where they belong. Visitors follow instinct. Everyone seems to understand that inside the Colosseum, Rome's social structure does not disappear. It becomes architecture. Before entering, you catch one last look back at the city. Roofs stretch into the distance. Smoke rises gently from chimneys. Life continues everywhere at once. Markets, homes, baths, politics, noise. But here, at the edge of the arena, everything is about to become focused on one thing. You step forward. The stone passageway swallows the sound of the city behind you. And for a moment, Rome disappears. Only the Colosseum remains. The moment you pass through the entrance, the world changes again. The sound returns first, not the distant noise of Rome, but something closer, heavier, layered. The low hum of thousands of voices rising and falling like waves trapped inside stone. Then the light shifts. You step out from the narrow passageway and suddenly the Colosseum opens around you. It is not just large, it is overwhelming. The arena stretches out in a perfect oval, its sand-covered floor glowing under the sun. Every grain of sand has a purpose, to absorb blood, to hide evidence, to reset the stage after every performance. It looks simple from above, but you quickly understand. Nothing here is simple. Your eyes are drawn upward. Row after row of stone seating rises around you in perfect symmetry. Arches stacked upon arches, levels upon levels, each one filled with people who are already watching, waiting, anticipating something you have not yet seen. And above them all, the sky. It feels smaller here. Or maybe it is just that everything else feels so constructed that even the sky seems like part of the design. You notice the emperor's presence before you even see him. Not because he is announced loudly, but because the energy of the crowd subtly shifts in one direction. Conversations pause. Heads turn. Attention gathers toward a single elevated section, where power is not spoken, it is displayed. This is not just entertainment. You begin to understand that immediately. The Colosseum is not a place where Rome relaxes. It is where Rome performs itself. Every seat, every tier, every carefully arranged position is intentional. The closer someone sits to the arena, the more status they hold. Senators, elites, and officials occupy the lower, closer rows, where they can feel the heat of the action. Higher up, further away, the ordinary citizens fill the upper tiers, still part of the experience but physically separated by design. Power is not hidden here. It is built into distance. A roar suddenly rises from one section of the crowd, rolling across the arena like thunder. You don't immediately know what caused it. A signal, a gesture, the beginning of an event you cannot yet see. But the reaction is immediate, unified, almost trained. And that is when it becomes clearer. The Colosseum is not just a building for games. It is a tool, an instrument of control, dressed as celebration. Emperors understand something simple but powerful. People are easier to rule when they are entertained together. When fear, loyalty, pride, and identity are shared in the same place, at the same time, directed toward the same spectacle. Here, politics does not need speeches. It becomes experience. A flash of movement catches your eye across the arena floor. Workers prepare something below the sand level. You can't fully see it yet, but you notice the mechanisms. Trapdoors, pulleys, hidden corridors beneath the surface. The arena is not just a stage above ground, it is also a machine underneath it. Everything here is designed to surprise, to impress, to control emotion. Even the unpredictability is engineered. A loud cheer erupts again, louder this time. You feel it physically, not just sound, but pressure, as if the entire structure is breathing with the crowd inside it. And for the first time, you realize something unsettling. You are not only watching the arena, you are part of it. Not as a spectator, but as one more presence inside a system built to be seen, remembered, and influenced. The Colosseum does not simply host Rome's power, it reveals it, stone by stone, voice by voice, breath by breath. And as your eyes move across the endless rows of spectators, you begin to understand what you have stepped into. Not just a place of games, but a place where Rome teaches itself who it is. You begin moving deeper into the structure, not toward the arena this time, but away from it. A set of corridors opens beside the seating rows, carved in stone and dimly lit by narrow shafts of daylight cutting in from above. The noise of the arena is still there, distant, echoing, but here it feels filtered, controlled, almost organized into layers. This is where the Colosseum reveals something most people never truly notice at first glance. It is not only built for watching, it is built for sorting. You walk through a passageway and immediately feel it. The space is not neutral. It guides you, directs you, separates you without needing words. On one side, a wide arch leads upward toward higher seating levels. On the other, narrower corridors descend toward the lower tiers. And without being told, people already know where to go. This is hierarchy made physical, not written in law here, written in stone. As you move along, you begin to notice how carefully everything is divided. Closer to the arena floor, where the sound is loudest and the view is perfect, are the most important citizens of Rome. Senators, officials, and elite families sit here. They are close enough to feel the heat, close enough to be seen, close enough to matter. Their presence is not accidental. It is architectural respect. Higher up, further away, the seating becomes less spacious. The steps grow steeper. The view becomes more distant, but still functional. This is where ordinary citizens gather, still part of Rome's spectacle, but physically separated from those who govern it. And higher still, at the very top levels, where the wind is stronger and the view becomes smaller, are the women. Foreigners, slaves, those without status in Rome's social structure. They are not excluded from the experience, but they are placed where their presence does not interfere with the illusion of order below. You pause for a moment in the corridor, because it becomes impossible to ignore what you are seeing. This is not just a crowd arrangement. It is a physical translation of Roman society. Power is not only spoken here, it is positioned. The architecture itself decides who sits where, who sees what, and how close anyone is allowed to be to the center of attention. You notice small details now that you might have missed earlier. Guard stations positioned at key intersections. Arched entry points designed to control flow without panic. Staircases that split and reconnect like branching paths in a system built for movement, not confusion. Even the people moving through these corridors seem conditioned by it. There is no hesitation, no arguing about direction. Everyone understands their place within the structure, even if they do not consciously think about it. A group passes you, senators escorted by attendants, moving calmly toward the lower seats. Their pace is unhurried, confident, as if the building itself was designed with them in mind, because in many ways, it was. You continue walking. The sound of the arena grows stronger again as you approach another opening. Light spills in from above, illuminating dust particles floating in the air. For a moment, the corridor feels suspended between two worlds, the ordered interior passageways and the chaotic spectacle waiting beyond them. And then it hits you. The Colosseum is not just a place where Romans gather to watch events. It is a system that teaches them where they belong. Every step you take here reinforces it. Every corridor confirms it. Every seat in the distance already assigned before you even arrive. You reach the edge of another archway. Beyond it, the arena calls again. But now you understand something you didn't before. You are not simply entering a stadium. You are moving through a carefully constructed version of Roman society itself. And it is already deciding where you stand. The deeper you move, the more the Colosseum stops feeling like a building and starts feeling like a system. You begin to notice what the audience never fully sees. The arena floor above you is only one layer of something far more complex. A carefully controlled machine built to produce moments of shock, awe, and spectacle on command. Everything here is planned. Nothing is random. You pass through a service corridor and hear it now. Not the crowd, but movement beneath it. Footsteps, chains, wood sliding against stone, the quiet preparation of something enormous about to happen. This is where the performances are built before they are ever seen. Above you, in the arena, gladiators are preparing. But preparing is not quite the right word. Some are trained fighters, veterans of multiple battles, treated almost like prized tools of entertainment. Others are prisoners, forced into the arena with no choice at all. Some stand in silence, others pray, others try not to think about what is coming. They are not just individuals here, they are part of a schedule, a carefully organized sequence of violence designed to hold thousands of people in attention at once. And they are only one part of it. Because the Colosseum was never just about human combat. You hear a distant sound, a low, heavy growl echoing through stone corridors. Animals, exotic creatures brought from across the empire, lions from Africa, bears from the north, leopards, bulls, and creatures most Romans would never see anywhere else in their lives. They are kept below the arena in controlled darkness, separated by cages, handlers, and fear. To the crowd above, they appear suddenly. But here below, you see the truth. Nothing appears suddenly. Everything is staged. You notice the machinery now. Trapdoors embedded in the arena floor. Wooden platforms that rise and fall. Narrow elevators operated by ropes and pulleys, designed to lift animals and scenery into view without warning. Entire sections of the arena can change in moments, transforming from empty sand into a living battlefield. This is not just architecture, it is engineering designed for surprise, for controlled chaos. And then you hear something almost unbelievable in context. A piece of history that feels too absurd to be real until you understand how serious the Romans were about spectacle. They once flooded parts of arenas for naval reenactments, entire staged sea battles, ships brought into enclosed spaces, water engineered into temporary lakes, soldiers fighting as if the sea itself had been transported into the city. It sounds impractical, even impossible, and yet it happened. Because in Rome, entertainment was not limited by logic, only by ambition. Every performance here is the result of enormous coordination. Engineers calculating timing, workers managing animals, trainers preparing gladiators, officials overseeing schedules. Even the smallest detail, the direction of a sound, the moment a gate opens, is controlled. And still, it is meant to feel unpredictable. That is the illusion. You move deeper and catch sight of staging areas where equipment is stored. Weapons are organized. Costumes and armor are prepared not just for function, but for impact. Polished to catch sunlight, designed to be seen from far away. The Colosseum is not a battlefield. It is a theater that uses battle as its language. And every part of it exists for one purpose: to make thousands of people feel something at the same time. a roar suddenly rises above you. The show is beginning. And now you understand something important. What you are about to see is not chaos. It is carefully constructed order, disguised as chaos. You don't notice them at first. That is the point. The Colosseum is designed so that what you see feels effortless, as if the arena simply happens on its own, as if the spectacle rises naturally from the sand and stone. But nothing here is effortless. You move through a side corridor, slightly away from the roar of the crowd above. The sound becomes muffled again, like the building is breathing in two different rhythms at once, one for the audience, one for the machinery behind it. And here, you finally see it. The people who make it all work, not the ones in the spotlight. The ones who keep the spotlight alive. A group of cleaners move quickly across a stone passage, sweeping away sand, debris, and traces of the previous performance. Their work is constant. As soon as one event ends, another must be prepared. The arena floor above you is never truly finished. It is reset, again and again, like a cycle that never stops. Further in, stage workers are already preparing mechanisms for the next spectacle. They check trapdoors, test pulleys, adjust wooden platforms that will rise through the arena floor without warning. Every movement they make has consequences above, consequences the crowd will interpret as magic, surprise, or fate. But here it is engineering. Simple, physical, repeated. You pass by animal caretakers. They move carefully, keeping distance from the cages while still tending to the creatures inside. Water is carried, food is prepared, chains are checked. Some animals are restless, pacing in tight circles. Others are still, almost unnervingly so, as if they understand something about what is coming. The caretakers do not look away. They cannot afford to. Nearby, engineers work in quiet coordination, inspecting the systems that allow the Colosseum to transform. They check ropes for wear, wooden lifts for stability, hidden mechanisms beneath the arena floor. They speak in short sentences, practical and focused. If something fails above, thousands will notice. But the failure will be seen as part of the event, not as a mistake in design. That is their responsibility, not perfection, but controlled illusion. A small medical station is tucked into one of the corridors. Doctors move quickly between injured workers, treating cuts, bruises, exhaustion. This is not the arena itself, but even behind it, the consequences of constant labor are visible. People get hurt, not in spectacle, but in preparation for it. And still, the work continues. You pass food vendors carrying trays through narrow passages. Simple meals, bread, wine, olives, nothing extravagant but essential. The Colosseum is not just a place of violence and performance. It is a place where thousands of people stay for hours, and all of them must be fed. Every service you see here mirrors something familiar. Modern stadiums, concert venues, massive events where crowds gather for a shared experience, while an invisible system keeps everything running smoothly behind the scenes. The difference is scale, not structure, because what you begin to realize is simple. The spectacle above could not exist without this world below. Thousands of invisible workers coordinate everything. Timing, movement, preparation, repair, control. They are rarely remembered, rarely seen, rarely spoken about in stories of Rome's grandeur, but they are everywhere, holding it together. You pause for a moment as another group passes you, carrying equipment toward the arena lifts. No one stops. No one slows down. There is no admiration for the system they maintain, only necessity. And then it hits you more clearly than before. The Colosseum is not just a place where Rome entertains itself. It is a place where labor disappears into performance, where effort becomes invisible the moment it succeeds. Above you, the roar of the crowd suddenly swells again. Another moment beginning. Another carefully prepared illusion being revealed. But now, you are aware of something the audience rarely thinks about. Every cheer you hear, every gasp, every moment of excitement is built on thousands of silent, unseen actions happening just out of sight. And without them, there is no spectacle at all. You descend, not dramatically, not with ceremony, just a quiet shift in direction, away from the noise above, down a narrow passage where the air begins to change, cooler, drier, heavier, and almost immediately the Colosseum stops feeling like a place built for light. It feels like something built for hiding. The sound of the arena fades into a distant vibration overhead, like thunder trapped inside stone. What replaces it is something far more intimate. Footsteps, breathing, the faint scrape of metal against stone. Torchlight begins to appear along the walls, flickering in uneven rhythms. Shadows move before the people do, stretching and shrinking across the underground corridors, like they don't fully belong to anyone. This is the world beneath the arena, the part no audience truly sees. You walk deeper, and the structure reveals itself in layers. Narrow corridors branch into larger holding chambers. Wooden gates line the walls, reinforced with iron. Chains hang from hooks. Mechanisms are embedded into the stone itself. Pulleys, lifts, counterweights, all waiting for their moment above. Everything here is still. But it is not peaceful. You pass the first group, gladiators. They are waiting in silence. Some sit on stone benches, staring at nothing. Others stand, pacing slowly in tight circles, as if movement is the only way to hold back thought. A few adjust their armor repeatedly, not because it needs adjusting, but because stillness is harder than action. You can feel it immediately. The anticipation, not loud, not visible, but thick enough to change the air. Every sound feels amplified here. Every breath feels like it belongs to someone else as much as it belongs to you. Time moves differently underground, slower, heavier, closer. No one speaks much. There's no need. They already know what comes next. Further down, you hear movement that is not human. Low sounds, shifts of weight, chains tightening. Animal handlers move carefully through a separate section of the chambers, keeping their distance while still performing their work. Water is offered, food is pushed forward, gates are checked again and again. But the animals are not calm. They cannot be. Even if they do not fully understand what is coming, they understand enough. Darkness, enclosure, waiting, and something beyond that. Torchlight flickers across their eyes for a moment, then disappears as someone passes, leaving only outlines of bodies behind iron and wood. The handlers do not linger. No one does. You begin to notice how the entire underground system is designed for movement without confusion. Narrow passages guide people without hesitation. Gates open and close in controlled sequences. Signals are quiet, hand gestures, short commands, timing that depends on experience more than speech. And beneath it all, machinery, constant, invisible, patient, lifts that will raise gladiators and animals into the arena above, platforms that shift sand and scenery, doors that will open at precise moments to create surprise where there is none. Everything is waiting for a cue, and yet nothing feels inactive, because even in stillness, this place is preparing. You pause at the edge of a larger chamber. Above you, the arena is a distant echo of life. Laughter, anticipation, noise building again. Another event is about to begin, but here below, there is no crowd, no spectacle, only preparation, and the people who stand closest to it. A gladiator nearby exhales slowly, adjusting his grip on a weapon you cannot quite focus on. Not fear exactly, but something close to it. Awareness, sharp and unavoidable. Another shift of metal echoes through the corridor as a gate is tested. Then silence again, heavy, waiting. You realize something as you stand there. To the crowd above, what happens in the Colosseum is sudden, dramatic, unpredictable, alive. But here in the underground chambers, you can see the truth. Everything is scheduled. Everything is known. Everything is waiting for the moment it is allowed to happen. And somewhere above your head, the arena calls again. Night falls over Rome. Not suddenly, but slowly, like the city is exhaling after holding its breath all day. The noise that once filled every corner begins to thin out. Markets close. Voices fade. Footsteps become fewer. Even the distant arguments and laughter dissolve into the darker streets. And the Colosseum changes with it. You return to the arena floor after the crowds have left. It is empty now. Not peaceful in a comforting way, but empty in a way that feels like something important has just ended. And the space itself is still trying to understand what it was used for. The sand beneath your feet is no longer bright. It is disturbed, uneven, marked by movement that no longer exists. Footprints overlap and disappear into each other. Darker patches remain where moments of violence or impact once happened, now already being softened by time and careful cleaning. Workers move quietly across the arena floor. They do not speak loudly. They do not need to. This is not spectacle anymore. This is maintenance. Brooms scrape softly across sand. Buckets are carried in steady rhythm. Tools are used with practiced efficiency. Every motion feels familiar, repeated thousands of times yet never fully finished. Above you, the seating tiers are almost unrecognizable without the crowd. The senators are gone. The officials have left. The emperor's presence has vanished into the city, leaving only stone behind. What remains is structure without audience, architecture without purpose, except preparation for tomorrow. You walk slowly along the edge of the arena. Your footsteps sound louder now than anything else. Each one echoes upward into the empty seating, bouncing back in smaller and smaller fragments, until it feels like the Colosseum is no longer responding, just remembering. Corridors that were once filled with movement are now still. Passageways that guided thousands now guide no one. Even the air feels different, cooler, heavier, settled. Somewhere in the distance, a worker carries a torch through a corridor beneath the seating. The flame flickers against stone, casting long shadows that move without sound. For a moment, it feels like the building is remembering its own activity, replaying it in light and shadow after the fact. You pause and listen. There is no roar, no applause, no tension rising before an event, only echoes, and even those are fading. It is here, in this silence, that the Colosseum feels most honest, not as a place of power, not as a place of violence or spectacle, but as something simpler, a structure that held thousands of human emotions in one space, and now carries none of them. You look up toward the highest rows. Where earlier there was noise and movement, there is now only darkness and shape. The symmetry that once felt alive now feels still, almost fragile, like it only works when filled with people. And you begin to understand something quietly. The Colosseum does not exist only in stone. It exists in what happens inside it. Without the crowd, without the performances, without the attention, it becomes just a shell waiting to be filled again. A final group of workers passes below you, their footsteps soft against stone. They do not look up. They do not stop. Their work is not for appreciation. It is for continuity. Tomorrow everything will return. The gates will open again. The seats will fill again. The arena will become what it is meant to be. But tonight, Rome sleeps, and the Colosseum waits in silence. Time does not destroy the Colosseum all at once. It happens slowly, almost politely, like something being forgotten one layer at a time. After the nights of celebration stop, after the emperors change, after Rome itself begins to lose the reach it once had, the Colosseum is no longer the center of the world. It becomes something else, a place people pass by instead of gather inside. At first, it still stands with purpose. Occasional events are held. Repairs are made. The stone still carries echoes of what it once was. But gradually, the attention fades. And when something like this is no longer maintained, it begins to change. Not dramatically, naturally. The first cracks come quietly. Earthquakes shake the structure over time, not enough to destroy it in a single moment, but enough to weaken it slowly. Shifting arches, breaking sections of seating, opening gaps where stone once fit perfectly together. No one fully repairs it anymore, not like before, because the world around it is changing too. Rome is no longer the same city that built it, and the Colosseum begins to lose its function. Parts of the structure are abandoned. Corridors that once guided thousands now lead nowhere. Upper seating levels become unsafe, then unused. Entire sections are left to wind and weather, slowly turning from architecture into ruins within architecture. Nature does not wait for permission. Plants begin to grow through cracks in the stone, small at first, thin roots finding space between ancient blocks, then larger patches of green spreading across broken edges. Vines wrap around arches that once framed crowds. Grass settles where people once sat. The Colosseum begins to look less like something built, and more like something being reclaimed. And then people arrive again, but not as spectators, as survivors of a different world. During the medieval period, parts of the Colosseum are treated almost like a quarry. Stone is removed and reused for new buildings across the city. Marble is taken. Metal is stripped. Sections of the structure that once held emperors and thousands of citizens are broken apart and carried away piece by piece, not out of disrespect, but out of necessity. Rome has changed, and what was once sacred architecture becomes raw material. A vast abandoned reservoir of stone waiting to be repurposed. It is strange to think about. A structure built to represent power, slowly becoming a resource for survival. And yet, that is how empires shift. Not in a single fall, but in reuse, in neglect, in transformation. As centuries pass, the Colosseum becomes something else again. A ruin, a landmark, a memory made of stone. Tourists begin to arrive much later, centuries after the last official games. They look at it not as a living structure, but as a fragment of something incomprehensibly large that once existed here. And in a way, they are right, because what they are seeing is not the Colosseum as it was, but the Colosseum as time has allowed it to remain. You stand at the edge of its present form and look back through everything it has been. Arena, machine, system, symbol, quarry, ruins, and still, it remains. Not because it was untouched, but because it endured everything that tried to change it. And now, it stands quietly in Rome, no longer performing history, but carrying it. And just like that, we begin to leave ancient Rome behind. The Colosseum fades into the distance, not as a single place, but as layers of memory, stone, sand, echoes, silence. What's interesting is how familiar all of this starts to feel when you step back from it. The idea of a massive arena filled with crowds, power, rules, spectacle, and survival, it almost feels like something we've seen before in modern stories. It reminded me, as I was going through this, of the Hunger Games. where entertainment, control, and public spectacle are tightly connected. And parts of it even feel like Percy Jackson series, where ancient mythology still shapes the modern imagination, just reinterpreted in a different world. Even Harry Potter comes to mind in a strange way, not in the events themselves, but in the idea of structured societies, hidden systems, and worlds built with their own rules just beneath the surface of what people normally see. It's interesting how history doesn't really disappear. It just changes shape and shows up again in stories we tell today. So maybe the Colosseum isn't just something in the past. Maybe it's something we've been reimagining all along. If you enjoyed this journey through ancient Rome, let me know where you're watching from. I always like seeing how far this little time travel reaches. And if you want more calm walks through history like this, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and it lets me keep building these journeys for you. Until next time, good night.